First of all, before I get into my remarks and some other recognitions, I want to thank someone who's probably done more for Santa Clarita than any other human since its establishment back in 1987, and that is Bob Keller. If everyone can please, what a hero. There's a lot that goes into this ceremony every year, and he's the backbone of it and has been for quite some time. So, Bob, thank you for your service. I also want to thank the pilot who did the flyby, Lieutenant Tyler Borch. His call sign, Bork, his call sign is Liver Queen. So it's not always Maverick and Iceman, and in the Navy we don't give you the cool call signs, unfortunately. And I want to thank Heidi, a good friend of mine who I'm extremely proud of for her remarks and highlighting the sacrifices and just how much women in the military have done for our beautiful country. If it were not for them, we would not be here right now. Those who made the ultimate sacrifice, those who built the aircraft while we were flying missions during World War II. And I stand 100% committed to the fact that if you commit sexual assault or sexual harassment while on active duty, either in uniform or out of uniform, there should be a zero tolerance mentality for that, and you should be kicked out of the military if proven guilty. I want to take a second to highlight an accomplishment. You know, not too many bills get signed into law in Congress right now. I don't know if you figured that out yet, but it's not the most functional place in the world right now. But we have been blessed to pass the Bill Reynolds Post Office bill, and I want to just pay tribute. First of all, anyone who knows Bill Reynolds or knew Bill Reynolds, please raise your hand. Bill was a local hero who served in Vietnam. He was part of the Boys of 67, fought in the Mekong Delta, received a Bronze Star or Purple Heart, saved the lives, and kept fighting despite being injured in his battles. And more importantly, when he came home, he made sure that he continued to advocate for veterans. He stood up several veteran organizations, and he wrote biographies about our local veterans that are still on display, and I believe they're at the Veterans Collaborative, where you can go read all of them. He did more for veterans locally than any single human being, probably the sum of all of us here in Santa Clarita did while he was alive, and he was taken from us too early. So today I'm proud to announce that we're going to name the post office there in downtown Valencia, right there on, Automotive Drive, what is it? Cinema Drive, sorry, yeah. Creekside, yeah. You know the post office I'm talking about. Right behind Target. We're going to name that the Bill Reynolds Post Office, and it'll be memorialized for him and Meg. For everyone that loved him, and there was a couple that didn't, they get to see it every day on their way home from work too, and I know he would take a special privilege in that. We lost a good friend just a few weeks ago. I know Ms. Kay is here, and his grandson Dylan are here as well, but Bob Slocum, who was normally one of the first guys I would hug here, he was a Gold Star father of his son Ricky, who died in 2004 in Iraq, passed away just a couple of weeks ago, and he was a real hero, a real community leader, and we're at a loss still in shock. And to the Slocum family, thank you guys for everything that you guys have done, and we are just heartbroken by the loss of Bob. And everyone here knew Bob Slocum. He was literally here every ceremony. So we'll honor him as well in the coming weeks. We also lost Jim Hogan, who was a Vietnam vet. His wife Pam is here today, I believe. Is Pam here? Oh, there you are. There you are, Pam. Thank you. Sorry for your loss. Jim was another American hero. And I personally lost a friend a couple of weeks ago, just back on May 8th. He was just 50 years old, died of cancer, and he was the third one in a squadron to get cancer. And there's something going on with naval aviators and these cancers that a lot of us are getting. We need to keep investigating, and I'm committed to making sure that we characterize that and hopefully fight the loss of the premature deaths of these naval aviators. So with that, let me get into just a few words. I want to remind us what this day is all about, right? Memorial Day. It's about paying homage to the folks who gave their lives in our defense. And I know that this is a scary time. I know that this is an unstable period in our nation's history, but it's not the first of such unstable eras. There's hundreds of headstones here just in this cemetery, and hundreds like them in thousands of cemeteries across the nation that are reminders of the turmoil that our nation has in its history, reminders that evil does still exist, but it's existed since the beginning of time and since the birth of our nation. This is not new. Resistance and rough seas are nothing new. And when faced with pounding surf and in the midst of a perilous storm caused by either external or internal forces, one might find it easy to simply feel sorry for oneself, to capitulate or to give in. But nations like ours, they don't have that option. It's like a solid rock promontory that juts into the sea and is incessantly pounded by surf and strong winds. This nation, this strong nation, has to hold its ground until the waves are beaten down and until the destructive forces find other shores. A strong nation doesn't feel sorry for itself. Instead, a great nation like ours, it stands with pride and with honor, knowing that had weaker nations been subjected to such strife, had weaker nations seen existential threats like what we saw during our Revolutionary War, that we saw during the Civil War, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, the evil of ISIS and Al-Qaeda for the last 20 years, those other nations, when faced with those evils, frankly, those other nations wouldn't continue to exist today. They wouldn't endure, yet we do. We do it because of all of you. We do it because of our veterans. That's right. We do it because of our veterans and those who made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our country. So let's remind ourselves that as the painful losses of our friends and family members are real, they are in fact in defense of this great nation, and only those troops had the strength and honor to do what they did, and only this country has the good fortune to prevail and to prosper as a result of their sacrifices. And then the small arc of the lifespan of a human being, man or woman, relative to the intended long lifespan, the potential long lifespan of this beautiful country, this American experiment, should help us better appreciate that the greater good is what's at stake here. That being the survival and the prosperity of a nation that is the product of providence, a product of God, and one nation that is under God. And that's the key. It's a reminder that what we see sometimes as misfortune is actually a blessing. And those misfortunes should never outweigh the fortune and blessings that we have as Americans. It's not misfortune. It's a great blessing as a result of being that solid rock firmly being held against the pounding waves and our adversaries. Uh-oh. Thank you, ma'am. So let me sum up and say that true evil still does exist. The denial of the existence of evil is more naive and dangerous than the denial of death itself. The implications of a superpower like ours to deny the existence of peer threats like China and peer threats like our national debt and near peer threats like Russia and North Korea are as dangerously naive. We may need someone to just man that one. There we go. These denials of existences of evil are what lead to a lack of preparation and jeopardize our freedoms and our future. And those who remove themselves from the fight between good and evil, whether out of fear, out of fatigue, or ignorance or frustration, are in fact participating. They are in fact supporting one side. And by removing themselves, they're actually supporting the wrong side. Evil relies upon the masses to be lethargic. Evil relies upon the masses to be tolerant of a slow boil that ends with our demise, and evil relies upon the portion of Americans who see turmoil abroad as not our problem. It's not an American problem. It relies upon a large body of the population who are of fighting age and mentality, whether physically or mentally, to become lethargic or to become isolationists. And evil relies upon the remainder to become appeasers who snake charm and delude themselves into thinking that appeasement will somehow achieve peace, and that this facade of a peace through appeasement would somehow prevent the destruction of our good country. And I would submit that our current president is an appeaser, and we are weaker because of that. Evil recognizes that weaknesses of the good and consumes this. This is why peace is achieved only through strength and only through resolve and through strong leadership. In the wake of tragic events like Pearl Harbor and 9/11, 2 or 3 generations are reminded of what true evil looks like, and we should not require such nightmares to occur before we open our eyes to these realities. Also, in the wake of such tragic events like Pearl Harbor and 9/11, 2 or 3 generations go to war. And in the wake of their service and hopefully their victories, they become eager to give their kids and their grandkids the things that they didn't have. Things like fancy houses and fancy cars and swimming pools, the materialistic fruits of peace. These were the things that the warriors themselves didn't have because they were required to go overseas and fight wars and see horrors and take lives, and many of them lost their lives. So here's the takeaway that I want you to get from me today. As veterans, and most of you here today either served or are family members of a veteran, in our eagerness to give our kids the things that we didn't have, those material things, we forget many times to give our kids the things that we do have, which is a love of country, a belief in God, and a desire to serve with a humble heart to enable the persistence of this great nation, to project the strength and deter the violent and cold evils that still do persist. We must pass on to our kids and our grandkids an inspiration to want to wear the uniform, to want to do the community service, to want to run for office, to want to hear that noise that just went overhead, that sound of freedom of 2 afterburning GE 414 jets that ironically someone's going to call and complain about here shortly to the city of Santa Clarita. So Mayor, have fun with that. We should want our kids to love these things and take them on, and for the right reasons, for the people and of the people, for the defense of the Constitution. It's these things that, when properly handed down from one generation to the next, that ensure good prevails against evil. And it's these things, when not handed down, that erode our fabric as a secure and free nation and bring evil to our doorsteps. And so we cannot allow fear, fatigue, or ignorance to be alibis for not teaching our youth, to not remembering our history, to not fighting evil in all forms and in all ways, whether it's in a classroom or universities, the halls of Congress, or in George Gascon's offices, at a NATO summit hearing, or on the battlefield. We must have the courage to stand up and fight. Fear, fatigue, and ignorance must not be the deciding ingredients. So I want all of us to take a second to listen closely. If you listen past the sound of the traffic on the 14 highway behind us and the fluttering of the flags, if you listen closely, you can hear the whispers of the fallen troops up on that hill. The Gold Star families visit there on a weekly basis, sometimes still. There's hundreds of them that have been buried in this Eternal Valley Cemetery, and they are up there. And if you listen closely, you can hear them talking to us. They're whispering to us, don't give up on this country. Don't feel sorry for me, but don't forget what I did for you. I gave my life so that you can have yours today, so that you can have your freedom and prosperity for the duration of your life and your kids' lives. Don't give up just because things seem difficult today. They're whispering to us that they are grateful to have had the honor to serve this beautiful country. Now honor them by serving her, our beautiful nation, and fighting for her. And when evil arrives, kick its ass. That's what they would tell us today if they were alive and with us. I want to thank all the Gold Star families that are here today. This day is for you. There's no easy day for a Gold Star family, but it's events like this and the crowds getting bigger and bigger each year and hearing the sound of freedom overhead. By the way, I feel sorry for the helicopter pilot that came over afterwards. They always like to go first. But Bob and the committee, thank you for another fantastic event. May God bless our fallen heroes, our active duty, our veterans in this beautiful country called the United States. And may God bless you all. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Our Congressman Mike Garcia.